Hello, Houston. Gossip Eric here and spotted at Tiny Boxwood in Houston. Former Astros manager AJ Hinch and former Astros shortstop Carlos Correa were spotted having breakfast that turned into lunch. What were they discussing? Were they talking about their Thanksgiving plans? Were they talking about what they're going to do for the holidays? Or were they talking about possibly Carlos Correa playing for the Detroit Tigers? Hmm. Or were they just getting some advice? Because we have to remember that AJ Hinch was Carlos Correa's mentor for many years. And we'll talk about this and more on this episode of the Locked On Astros podcast.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talks Astros. Find the show at Locked On Astros, and you can find the show at Gossip Locked On Astros, because apparently that's what everybody's talking about, is the gossip that's going around Carlos Correa. Where will he sign? What is he doing? What is he doing with AJ Hinch? And like I said before the show, I mean, I don't think we should read too much into this. And like Jeff Passan said, he tweeted this out, and I think that this is kind of weird that he had to say this. He said, yes, free agent shortstop Carlos Correa and Detroit Tigers manager AJ Hinch had breakfast today. Yes, the conversation was so good that they stayed until lunch. Yes, the Tigers badly need a shortstop. No, it does not mean that Carlos Correa is close to signing with the Detroit. Lots of the offseason is left. So, guys, I wouldn't read too much into that. They both live in Houston. Like I said, AJ Hinch was Carlos Correa's mentor when he came up through the organization. He played for him a long time. This could have been, we all remember that Carlos Correa was part of the whole scandal that led to AJ Hinch being fired. But I'm sure that they were also good friends, and they had probably had a good relationship. We heard that Alex Cora and Carlos Correa still had that good a relationship there. So you're looking at the situation, and I don't think we need to read too much into this, but yes, the Tigers do need a shortstop, but according to MLB trade rumors, the Correa is expecting to get 320 million for 10 years. And if Correa, with his new agency that only represents movie stars and musicians, they're looking for what Francisco Lindor got, which was 10 years, $341 million. Are the Tigers willing to do that? I don't know. So we'll see what happens in this situation. But I think what we saw here was Carlos Correa saying, yo, AJ, I don't know what to do, man. Do I go play? I don't really like the Yankees. I dissed Derek Jeter. I talked about a whole bunch of crap to them. They don't like me there. And they keep on booing my boy, Altuve. But then do I want to go play for the Cardinals? I know they need a shortstop. Do I want to go play for the Phillies? Do I want to go play for you? I don't know what to do. Give me some advice, because I really value your insight. And so AJ Hinch is like, you know what? I think you need to do what's right for your heart, play for the Tigers. But just listen to what your voice is saying, play for the Tigers. And I just think that he's just trying to give him some fatherly advice and play for the Tigers. So I think that's what's going on in that situation. But definitely this is a situation that was kind of weird. I know that he's coming off a year where he stayed healthy all season. He led baseball with 20 defensive run saved. He had slash line of 279, 366, and 485. And so we saw that this is the Carlos Correa that we expected, maybe with a little bit more power overall. But I think that we can see Carlos Correa kind of set the market, but I don't think that you're going to see him sign before the December 1st possible lockout. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But yeah, definitely this was a situation that everybody's talking about. So what are your thoughts about that? What do y'all think that? So I know Shane says that I really honestly think AJ was just giving Carlos some advice. Thank you, Alex. He's saying that I'm the man. Thank you. And Mr. Corona says, I wouldn't read too much into that photo. They're probably having a discussion. Hey, how's it been? You like Dusty as manager? How do you handle the hostile crowds? I wouldn't say that they're talking about that, but I think that they're talking about life outside of Houston. What is it like as a manager, knowing that you were the manager during the scandal? What is it like being outside of Houston? I think that's probably one of the things that Carlos Correa was probably talking about. So we'll see what happens here. So definitely, here's what World Traveler had saying. Plot twist. I think Carlos Correa was trying to convince Hinch to coming back to be a manager here. I don't think that's the situation, but we'll see. That would be kind of cool to see in that situation. But I really don't think that's the case, because I think Hinch, especially with the success he saw last year, I think with the right pieces, they already got Eduardo Rodriguez. They got Tucker, the catcher, Tucker Barnhart from the Reds, the catcher. So they're a couple pieces away from being maybe the 2015 Astros and surprising everybody in 2023. So yeah, and so everybody's talking about, did I see that Correa finished fifth in the MVP voting? Yes, that's something I was going to address, but yeah, then we also had Altuve and Tucker getting some votes. So that was pretty impressive. So Correa finished fifth in the AL MVP voting. He was named on 29 of the 30 ballots. So people were recognizing him. So that was awesome. And Altuve appeared on 2 ballots with a 9th and a 10th place vote. And Kyle Tucker got 1 10th place vote. Just imagine if Kyle Tucker had a semi-better April. Just imagine if some of those hits that were out in April, if he just had a little bit better April, he may have been in the top 5 for the MVP this season. And so this may be the last time we see Kyle Tucker struggle. I mean, not struggle, but not be in the top 5 MVP. I think that we've seen a kind of turnaround for this. So so Correa did finish 5th, and then Altuve and Tucker were down at the bottom, but they did get some MVP votes from people around baseball. So yeah, so I think that, like I said, it'll be funny down the road if we're talking about the situation. Say, hey, remember when Carlos Correa signs with Tigers? Hey, remember that dinner, that breakfast that turned into lunch that you had with AJ Hinch? Did y'all talk about that? Did y'all decide all the issues then? Or I really don't think that's a situation. I think that he's really, really just kind of figuring out what's going on. So, and I do want to talk about, before I move on to the next topic, I do want to talk about who did win MVP, and that was Shohei Ohtani, unanimous, all 30 first place votes. Shohei Ohtani, he had an awesome year. He was a two-way player. This is what the Angels expected to get. So, yes, I think that he was the unanimous MVP. And Vladimir Guerrero got 29 of the 30 second place votes. So I think that if Shohei Ohtani did not have as good a year he did, Guerrero probably would have been the MVP. But you can't discount, even though he didn't play for such a great team, Shohei Ohtani, what he's done, it's just amazing. So, yeah, so I think that people are asking, do you think that Correa will come back or go to Detroit or come back? I really don't think he'll go either places. I don't know if the Tigers will pony up the money to pay what he wants. So, like, the Astros are willing to go 5 years, like I said in yesterday's podcast. Correa wants 10 years. There's a big difference there. I mean, if the Astros say, fine, we're willing to go 7 years, what's to stop Correa from saying, okay, well, if you're willing to go 7 years, why not go 8 years? I want to stay here, man. I mean, the fans love me. We have this whole this little fan club here, the whole listen to this, can you hear me thing. And fans love me here. This is my organization. Why don't you, if you're willing to go 7 years, why don't you go 8 years? And then the Astros say, fine, we'll go 8 years. Then they'll say, you know what? If you're willing to go 8 years, why don't you go 9 and 10 years? And just think about all the contracts that have not gone well over 10 years. So that's what the Astros are concerned about. And Jim Crane is just not really going to go over that 5-year mark for some reason. And I'm not, guys, I'm not anti Carlos Correa. I want him back as much as anybody else. I just know that Jim Crane is not going to budge on going over that 5-year mark. He may go to 6 years. He may even go 7 years, but to guarantee somebody 10 years, that's just something I think is too much for Jim Crane. And I would not bet a box of Built Bars on that. And speaking of Built Bars, I love Thanksgiving. It's all about the food, all the like turkey, all the dressing, everything like that. But maybe you want a yummy dessert, but that's not so full of calories like that stuffing and sugar. It's the perfect time for Built Bar. Built Bar is a new holiday dessert. Feast on something delicious, and feel good about it. One slice of pie has upward of 300 calories, and that's on low end. Most Built Bars are only 130 calories and only 4 grams of sugar with protein, plenty of protein. Replace the coconut cream pie with coconut Built Bar, or go for the raspberry Built Bar instead of raspberry pie. Lots of great flavors to replace any pie. Low calorie, low carb, low fat, high protein, covered in 100% real chocolate. Built Bar is a great option when you're hungry. If Thanksgiving isn't coming soon enough, go for a Built Bar or two. Share some at your family gathering. It'll make things less awkward. Maybe Aunt Betty hasn't tried a Built Bar yet. New surprises all month. There's nothing like a Built Bar Black Friday. Mark your calendar. Black Friday will be a huge event. All sorts of surprises. Go to built.com. Use the promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off your order. Use the promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at builtbar.com. And make sure that you continue making the Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day, whether it's on YouTube. Keep on subscribing and keep on go ahead and listening to the audio version on your way home and on your way to work, whether that's Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you're listening to your podcast. Keep on listening to Locked On Astros podcast. So that brings up my next topic. So Justin Verlander signed yesterday. I know a lot of people are saying, wow, he's coming off Tommy John surgery. Why did you give him $25 million guaranteed for 1 year? And you know he's going to pick up the option for the second season, because you've got the situation where you needed that big starter, and Justin Verlander is that guy. And you weren't going to get him to stay for we saw that Noah Syndergaard left the Mets. The Mets offered him the qualifying offer, and they weren't going to offer him anything more because of his injury history. He's basically missed 1.5 seasons, if not more. So Justin Verlander was in the same situation. And I think the Astros saw that. They saw that Syndergaard left the Mets, and they're like, you know what? Let's go ahead and not let our guy leave. We know he's 39. We know he's coming off his first Tommy John. We don't know how many innings we can get from him, but this is Justin Verlander. This is not your typical guy coming off Tommy John. He is a workhorse. He's a beast. He's a different type of animal, and he's a guy that can come in and maybe throw 180 innings and not be on any type of innings restrictions coming off the thing. So now that you've gone all in, I've seen a lot of people across baseball saying, the same guys that said, ooh, you know what? I think the Dodgers would be great if they go out and get Justin Verlander. The Yankees, they should go out and get Justin Verlander. The same people are saying that the Astros overpaid for Justin Verlander. The Astros overpaid for Justin Verlander the past 2 years when he only pitched one game. But I think that the Astros did what they had to do to get Verlander to stay home. But what we need to do is talk about what this means for the rest of the offseason. The Astros are definitely going for 2022. They're going for the postseason again. They got the taste of the World Series again. They want to get it for Dusty. They want to get it for the rest of this crew. And they want to get Justin Verlander another ring. So now they got Verlander back. They want to get out and get another player. So on yesterday's podcast, I talked about now here's the situation. They're going to get either a shortstop or they're going to get a center fielder. And Bob Nightingale tweeted out, this was either yesterday or today, I'm not really sure when, but he said that now that Houston Astros have Justin Verlander back, They are being ultra aggressive in their pursuit of a free agent center fielder, Starling Marte. Then John Heyman said today, Starling Marte's market is very hot, so he could be that rare star player who signs a big multi-year deal in November. As I just said on Hot Stove, the Phillies, the Yankees, the Mets, the Astros, the Rangers, the Marlins, and many others are in. So I know that there appears to be mutual interest between the Astros and Starling Marte. The Astros technically don't need a center fielder. I know you have Chas McCormick, you have Jake Myers, you have Jose Siri, but just think about the element that Marte can add. And I know that Brett, my co-host, it says, well, why don't you trade for somebody? Well, if you're going to trade for somebody, Byron Buxton, so to speak, you're going to be giving up some of your prospects. You'll be doing like somebody like that. So I think that what's going to happen is if you go get Starling Marte, yes, he's going to cost some money, but he's not going to require a big 5 to 6 year deal. I think you can get Starling Marte at his age for about 3 to maybe 4 years deal, maybe 3 years guaranteed, 4 years like a team option or something like that. So I think that's something that you could do. And just go with Diaz as the starting shortstop for the start of the season. And then when Jeremy Pena is ready, just say, hey, Pena, here, this is your job. Go and do it. And then if he's not ready, you got other options at AAA who are getting more time at shortstop and learning how to play shortstop. So I think that, or get like Rob, get some of these other, like Andrelton Simmons or some of the other guys that Brett mentioned the other day. Just get a like a stopgap until you have Jeremy Pena ready to take over at shortstop. So yes, Starling Marte is older than Correa and Springer. Yes. And Marte, he got better when he came over to the American League. When he played for the A's last year, he seemed to get better. His power numbers seemed to go up a little bit, but I think that we'll see what happens in this situation. Now, the thing with Marte is he has that speed, but will that speed translate as he ages? That's something to take in consideration. So I know that let me look him up real quick, but I know that one season he had pretty close to 50 stolen bases. And so would he be able to do that again? No, but last year he had 47 stolen bases. And so could he do that again? I know let me see. In what year did he have? He had 47 stolen bases in 2016. In 2018, he had 33 stolen bases. 2019, he had 25. In a shortened season, he had 20. He had 10 in 2020. Last year, he had 47. So he is still able to steal some bases even at his age. So I think that what we can expect from him is you don't have to trade anybody. You don't have to trade any of your prospects. You can go out and sign him. He doesn't have a qualifying offer attached to him. If you sign a Trevor Story, he has a qualifying offer, a draft pick attached to him. Some of these other guys, they have picks attached to them. So that's something you have to do. So I know that PLG says there's no reason to halt the development of Siri, Myers, and McCormick. It's not really halting them. You still need them as the 4th and 5th outfielders. And just keep in mind that Michael Brantley is only signed for 1 more year. So then you can always move somebody to, like, you can move Marte to left field, and you can move somebody else. So there are options for what's happening there. So it's right here in the situation, and just give Siri strikes out a lot. McCormick may strike out a little bit. Myers, yes, we saw some flashes with him, but we also saw some periods where he kind of came back to earth a little bit. So this will give them some time to develop. But what Marte will offer is a cheaper option than paying Trevor Story like 5 to 6 years and $25 million per year. I don't know how much exactly Starling Marte would require, but we'll see what the situation is down the road. But this is just my overall thoughts. I think that now that Justin Verlander is back, the Astros are going to look at the roster and they say, okay, well, we got Alvarez, who's going to need to be re-upped at some point. We got Altuve's that needs to be re-upped at some point. Tucker needs to be re-upped at some point. So we don't want to commit to long-term contracts. That's why they don't. I mean, they want to bring back Carlos Correa, but they don't want to do it long term. So that's why they want to do. That's why they want to kind of do a short-term deal. So that's why Marte makes perfect sense in this situation. So that's just my thoughts here. So other than that, I think some big targets for the offseason is Graveman. They've got to bring back Kendall Graveman. I know that he showed some regression and towards the end of the season, but also we saw the Kendall Graveman we expected in the postseason. So I think that he is a big piece to the Astros offseason. You got to keep that bullpen. I know the Astros may have a big a rotation now, but like I said on yesterday's podcast, you can't trade all your starting pitching depth just to open up spots on the roster. And by the way, tomorrow is the deadline to set the. We'll talk about that in a second, but to protect players from the Rule 5 draft. And the Astros have a couple players, Sean Dubin and then Jeremy Pena. And there's only one spot now that you have Verlander back. So this is something that the Astros are going to have to consider. Who are you going to drop from the 40-man roster? So there's a lot for us to talk about. And what did Rob Manfred have to say about a possible work stoppage? How good of a commissioner is he? We'll talk about that in a second. But make sure, guys, if you want to make some bets, we're back and better than ever. A new web interface that for the start of the basketball season, more props, odds, and lines better than ever. Bet Online remains your number one spot for all basketball and football action this season. Head to our new updated desktop or mobile website and sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, baseball once it starts again, NHL, boxing, UFC, and like Brett likes to talk about, the Bachelor, Bachelorette, all that. And your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. Bet Online is where the game starts. And so let's go ahead and talk about going on here. So this is a lot of legalese, but we know that baseball has, after the strike in the 90s, there was a lot of people that kind of tuned out of baseball. They went to watch other sports, and it took Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa's the home run hitting to kind of get people back into baseball. Rob Manfred is very conscious of this, and he said that they don't want to stop games. What could happen in December has nothing to do with stopping games. And so this is what he said. I can't believe there's a single fan in the world who doesn't understand that an off-season lockout that moves that process forward is different from a labor dispute that costs games. So what he's talking about is possibly if they do have this lockout starting on December 2nd, that doesn't mean the season's going to be stalled. What that means is he's saying, if they do this lockout, this is a way to prevent a possible strike. So if the owners lock out, then that prevents the players from striking. So I understand that time is becoming an issue. And so what he's saying is that we know that we're trying to get this deal done, but they're so far apart. I've been saying this on the last couple of podcasts, and so we'll see what's going on. But he said, I left a pretty good job with a pretty good future to get into this industry to the point where we can make deals without labor disputes. I don't think there's anybody who understands any better than I do that from the perspective of fans, they don't want a labor dispute. And that's why our number one priority is to make a deal. We've been down this path. We locked out in 89 and 90. We decided to go down a path in 1994. I don't think 1994 worked out too great for anybody. I think when you look at other sports, the pattern has become the control of timing and the labor disputes and try to minimize the prospect of actual disruption of the season. That's what it's all about. It's about doing damage to the season. So we did not make today, and we will not make a decision as what next. We're focused on making this agreement prior. We're focusing on making an agreement prior to December 1st. So basically what Rob Manfred is saying is that we're not going to decide to lock out until December 2nd. So if they are frantically working to try to get a deal done, and they're trying to avoid any type of labor stoppage because they know what it will look like to fans. We've been there before. We remember the 90s, 1994, where that strike happened, and it's all about that. So I know that, like Jay Roberts says, who knew that the steroids actually brought fans back? Yeah, steroids did bring fans back, and so we'll see what happens. But I do think that there will be baseball in 2022. I know that they're far apart, guys, but I don't think they're that far apart. And he said that we've had challenges with respect to making labor agreements before, and we've got a pretty good track record of overcoming those challenges. I can tell you from the club's perspective, we're committed to continuing to offer proposals and suggestions in effort to get an agreement before December 1st. So they're doing everything they can to avoid this because they don't want everything to, they don't want the, what to hit the fan. And that's what will happen if there's a labor stoppage. Yes, I guess as fans, we don't really care until what? Until it affects the games. That's when it hurts us. That includes spring training. Is this going to affect spring training? Are they going to have everything done before spring training starts and they have to delay the season? So that's when it's going to start hurting the fans. So I don't know what y'all think about what Rob Manfred has to say. He seems like he wants to avoid this, but at the same time, he doesn't seem like he wants to get the job done. So we'll see, but it feels like the owners are here, the players are here. How are we going to get them here? It's going to take some negotiation. So we'll see if they can get this done. They've got a little bit less than, I'm doing the math in my head, about 8. I'm tired of 11 days or so just to get this done. So that includes Thanksgiving break, where a lot of people are not going to be working. So we'll see what's going on. But I'm just glad that Justin Verlander signed. Did he have to sign before this possible labor stoppage? No. But now Verlander can enjoy the holidays without worrying about where he's going to be. Are we going to see Carlos Correa do the same thing? I don't know. Just because he met with AJ Hinch for breakfast that turned into lunch, that doesn't mean he's signing with the Tigers. Does that mean he's signing with the Astros? No. I think that, like I said at the beginning of the show, I think that was just, hey, AJ, I need your advice. What do you think I should do? So we'll see. We don't know what's going to happen. And what we've seen so far is don't believe everything you've seen on Twitter, social media, even from the guys who should know it all. They don't seem to know it all this year. And so we'll see what happens, because a lot of people were saying that Justin Verlander was going to the Yankees, but he's not going to the Yankees anymore. So we'll have to see. So Dorothy Correa has as long as he wants to decide. So if it goes into the season, it goes into the season. So he can hold out as long as he wants. But I doubt that he will last that long. I'm pretty sure somebody will get panicked and go ahead and offer him the money he wants. Because I think a lot of people are a little afraid to offer that 10-year deal, because didn't Lindor miss some time last year? So people are kind of afraid of those 10-year deals, because how many of those 10-year deals have honestly worked out? Fernando Tatis, I know that's a different story, but he missed some time last year with a whole bunch of injuries. So do you want to really risk that with Carlos Correa, who does have the injury history? So that's why a lot of teams may be a little bit situation there. So anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. I think that's all I got. So thank you for listening to gossip Locked On Astros XOXO. Next time we'll talk about who Kendall Graveman had breakfast with, or maybe Yimi Garcia. I'm sure y'all care about where Yimi Garcia is going to next year, or maybe even Zach Greinke. Where is Zach Greinke going to? We'll see who he has breakfast with, and we'll talk about all that on the next gossip Locked On Astros. But have a great weekend, and we'll be back on Sunday for Monday with another Locked On Astros podcast. And once again, welcome back, Justin Verlander, and keep on subscribing to Locked On Astros podcast. And hopefully the Astros go out and get Starling Marte, and we'll see you on Monday. Go Stros.